Alright, so summary for Firefly. Well, first off, the good. It does an absolutely wonderful job of thematically connecting you to the Firefly universe. People that, have seen the TV show or the movie or what have you will, just go crazy seeing all the locations and everything, and recognizing all the places and
the quotes.
And sure, quotes all over the place, and like the aiming to misbehave cards are just wonderfully appropriate. With lots of options and attention to detail presented. The components are wonderful for the most part. I mean, the miniatures, you don't expect, CMON quality from a game that's, what was this, like $45-50 or something like that. Nothing terribly expensive. So they're quite good for what you're paying for it. And, wonderful, nice, thick tokens and everything. And, I know a lot of people dislike paper money, but it's really quite cool.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty. The artwork is great. It's fairly durable.
It's not cardstock, but it's not.
Cardstock would be hideously bulky, and I don't think would be appropriate for this anyway.
Horribly flimsy.
No, that's
it's a good quality paper.
Generally the components are wonderful, and for the most part, the gameplay is quite a lot of fun. Now, as for some of the downsides to it, I mentioned in the intro that there was a reason we were doing this whole pile all at once, and that's primarily because, honestly, the base game feels kind of lacking. The game really, without the extra stuff we have, you have like this, I want to say.
Well, if you open up Blue Sun, the boards are... Oh, sorry.
It's just, is not a ton of space. And you have a single Reaver that starts like over here somewhere, I think. And there's none of this token stuff going on. And it's not bad, but it's kind of lacking by itself. Now, to get this whole mess, will run you somewhere in the ballpark of $100, which is still, significantly cheaper than a lot of offerings like this out there. I'll mention CMON again, cool mini or not for those that, but it really does feel kind of like there's not enough space and not really enough going on. Once you start adding in this stuff, though, the universe opens up. And really, my main remaining complaint at that point would be that the NPC ships, as you probably saw in our video, don't end up doing much most of the time. The opportunities to move them, especially move them tactically, are rare. And you are rarely going to get the combination of cards you need to, jump somebody wanted with the Alliance Cruiser or get a Reaver on top of somebody or what have you. It's really interesting and exciting when you do, but it doesn't happen often enough. And it feels like they needed some kind of rule, where every so often you'll, roll to randomly move these guys or something like that. Because you can hit huge long stretches where they literally just sit there and do nothing.
Well, and one of the other things that they added with the expansions is that some of the stories really involve the NPCs a lot more.
And the bounties are always exciting.
Yeah.
Gives you a reason to jump other players, which is always fun. Keeps things, interesting. Keeps people on their toes, because I find that a lot of times with this game, I have to remind people it's not a co-op.
Right.
We're not on a team. Don't take that Reaver right next to me and dump him over here. That doesn't help you. We're not working together here.
No, I dumped that Reaver over there by you.
And, it's something you kind of have to remind people of occasionally. More cutthroat players probably won't have a problem with it, but less aggressive players definitely will. And you got to remember, you're not working together. This is a competitive game. Now, in spite of all that, it's a great adventure, really, is what I would call it, more than anything else. You know, obviously the game's going to change wildly depending on which scenario you're using, but really at its heart it feels like an adventure. You're running around completing jobs, recruiting crew, upgrading your ship, and then something goes wrong and half your ship falls off or your crew dies or, you know, and you're kind of back to square one. And it keeps things exciting and interesting and keeps you on your toes. Now, the other major complaint you'll hear about this game is the sector cards, which, yes, it is a little tedious flipping a card for every space you move. However, we found that you can remove a lot of the slowdown and the tedium by simply having another player flip the cards for each space you move and reading them to you. Then, more than one player is involved at a time, so there's less, you know, people getting bored or distracted or what have you, and it keeps things moving along quite a bit faster, which is always nice. And for the most part, you can keep your turns fairly quick, especially once you get used to the game and the system a little bit. You know, yeah, we had to peek at the occasional rule here and there, not because we haven't played the game a lot, but because, you know, we're playing a lot of games.
Yeah.
You know, look at our collection on Board Game Geek. It's somewhere just shy of 600 games at this point, I think. So it's, you know, sometimes keeping every rule straight is tricky. But, you know, the rule books are decent. I wouldn't call them great by any stretch of the imagination, but they get the job done for the most part. You know, there's a few things you kind of have to interpret a little bit here and there, but, you know, for the most part it conveys what you need to know reasonably well. So, you know, I guess in conclusion I would say that it's really definitely a good idea to pay attention to the gameplay video more than anything else to make up your mind, because, you know, my opinion is just my opinion. What you see is, or what you saw, hopefully, is a good idea of what you're going to get out of this game. If it all seemed a little too, you know, piecemeal and like get bogged down, then, you know, this probably isn't the game for you. But it is a wonderfully thematic space adventure for people that don't mind, you know, dealing with the card flipping and things like that. So personally, you know, I hesitate to even recommend it or not. Really, you know, let the gameplay either convince you want it or don't want it, because that's really the most important part to this. Personally, we adore it. We have no intention of getting rid of it, probably ever.
Yeah, we picked up the 2 expansions on vacation.
Yeah, all we're missing is 2 of the ship packs, Jetwash and Esmeralda, I think they are. Which we'll no doubt acquire sooner or later. But, yeah, no, for the money, it's definitely not a bad choice. You know, like I said, the base game can feel a little lacking, but it takes a couple games to really start feeling that way. So there's no harm in picking it up and trying it out if you liked what you saw in the gameplay segment. So I would say that probably about covers it, unless there's anything. No? Okay. Well, alright then. Until next time, get off your computer and go play some more games.